All right, in this one we're going to take a look at object and edit mode. So right here we have our cube, and we can see that right now it is currently in what is called object mode. Now in object mode, we're able to grab, rotate, or scale, or manipulate the object as a whole. So this is changing the object as a whole. But what if we wanted to change the underlying structure of the mesh? Well, we could go in what's called edit mode. If we go to the top left here, we could change it from object mode to edit mode, and you can see what this gives us. Now we could also go in and out of object and edit mode by hitting tab on our keyboard. Now in edit mode, we could see the underlying structure of the cube. Now a mesh is comprised of three different things: vertices, edges, and faces. You can see here we're in vertex select mode, and we could select the vertices. Now, obviously this cube has 8 vertices, and we could select a vertex and hit the G key and move it, and then we could hit tab to go back into object mode, and now we see that our mesh has this shape now. So we've basically changed the underlying structure of the shape. How awesome is that? So if I go back to edit mode, you can see we also have edge mode, or we're able to select the edges. We could click here or hit 2 on the keyboard to go to edge select mode. If we hit 1 on the keyboard, by the way, not on the numpad, just on the keyboard, we could go to vertex mode. And if we hit 2, we could go to edge select mode. So here in edge select mode, you can see that an edge is comprised of 2 vertices. So right here we have this vertex, and if I shift left click this one, we have an edge. So here, an edge will be between 2 vertices. As you can see, if I go to edge select mode, this right here is an edge. And once again, we could grab it, rotate it, and scale it if we want. Then we have face select mode, which we could go to by hitting 3 on the keyboard. And here, as the name implies, we're able to select the faces of our mesh and scale it, rotate it, and move it. Pretty freaking cool. Let me go ahead and move this vertex back a little bit, and there we go. So edit mode allows for us to change the underlying structure of our mesh, whereas object mode, we're able to move it as a whole. In edit mode, we can move the vertices, edges, or faces, or scale them and rotate them as we want. Pretty sweet. Now, let's say we want to add more geometry to this. Well, there are several ways to do this. We're going to go over a lot of them during the course, but the 2 main ways is to extrude or to add loop cuts. The first one, extrusion, if we, for example, select this face, we could hit the E key and it will extrude out another face, as you can see right there. And then we could select this face, for example, hit the E key, extrude it, and then this one, E key, extrude it. Pretty awesome. Now, of course, you could extrude out edges and vertices as well. But here you can see we get this kind of cool shape right here. Kind of looks like a Q*bert block. Now, keep in mind that with the meshes, for the most part, you want to keep everything as a quad. Now, a quad is a face that has 4 vertices. So you can see right here, 1, 2, 3, 4, it has 4 vertices. All of these faces have 4 vertices, as you can see there. And for the most part, you want to keep your mesh with quads or 4 vertex faces. If I hit Shift A and we could add a new mesh, I can go to Mesh. And here, for example, I could add a different mesh, such as a UV sphere. And let me move this to the side. You can see that this UV sphere is mostly comprised of quads or 4-sided faces. You can see that all of these faces have 4 vertices to them, or 4 sides. At the top, however, you can see that we do have triangles over here. So you can see here that these faces have 3 vertices or 3 sides to them. So you can see that these are triangles. Now, for the most part, you don't want triangles in your mesh as these deform badly. So once again, you want to keep your mesh as a quad. Now, a UV sphere by default has triangles at the top, but even with a sphere, usually what you will do is have a sphere start out as a cube and then add, for example, a subdivision surface modifier to it to make it a sphere. You can see here, if I go over here and add a modifier, subdivision surface, you can see I get a sphere-like shape. And if I increase this a little bit, you can see that even though this is a sphere-like shape, if I apply this, you can see that everything is still a quad or a four-sided face, as you can see there. Very, very cool. So the first way, by the way, to delete something, you could select it and hit the X key. And to add a new mesh, you could hit Shift A and add a new mesh. There's a variety of different ones. So here, extrusion is one way to add geometry. The next most used way is adding loop cuts. If I hit Control R, you can see I could add a loop cut here. I could left click to add a loop cut, and then you're able to move it wherever you want. If you want to leave it centered, you could just right click and it will leave it centered. Or I'm going to hit Control Z. Here I could left click, bring it up, and then left click again to add that loop cut over here. And now I'm able to extrude out some smaller faces, as you can see right there. Pretty sweet. Also, if we hit Control R, we could scroll our mouse wheel up or down, or input an amount such as 3, and then left click and right click to add 3 loop cuts. And now we're able to extrude out some more faces towards the bottom. And there we go. That is object and edit mode. Again, in object mode, you could change the object as a whole. In edit mode, we're able to change the underlying structure, the vertices, edges, and faces, and add more and basically create our own kind of mesh and structure that we want. So with that, in the next one, we're going to get into the course. I'll see you in the next one. Ciao for now. Au revoir.